We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
What's up, ladies and germ balls? It is Monday, January 6, 2014. I hope your New Year's is off to a great start. We're about a week in to the new year. I hope you had a great weekend and a good Sunday without me invading your ears. Did you know that on this day in history, in 1952, Peanuts debuted in Sunday papers across the United States? On this day in history, 1952. I thought it'd be older than that. Peanuts seemed like the classic of all classic. I never watched that stuff or never read that stuff. I mean, I don't want to pick up a paper to watch very, very short-worded comedy cartoon. I never got it, but, you know, some of the old people like it. Did you also know that on this day in history, January 6th, 1968, Gibson patented its Flying V electric guitar. Flying V electric guitar by Gibson was patented in 1968. That is our entertainment spot of this day in history. If you're interested in sports, not too long ago, I would say about 12 years ago, 2002 on this day in history, Emmitt Smith with the Dallas Cowboys became the first running back in the NFL to run 1,000 yards in 11 consecutive seasons. I hope he's bragging about that, because if that was me, that's what I would be bragging about every single day. And today is Loretta Young's birthday. She's an actress. She was born in 1913, and on this day, happy birthday, Loretta Young. I would love to know when your birthday is, and I want you to tell me. Or if you'd like to wish someone a happy birthday right here, please do so. Call me on the show. We'll talk. I'll interrogate you. If I don't answer, leave me a message and give me your nuggets of joy. Oh, boy. I have a very special treat for you, so I'm not going to yak very long. I have a great interview. I believe you'll find it just as interesting as I have, and I hope you'll like it. Let's go to this Jeopardy question really quick, and then I'm putting it over to this other deal here. After unsuccessfully trying to reach grapes on a vine, he walked away, concluding that they were sour. Who is the fox? I have no idea what that means, nor what that refers to, but if you know, please inform me. Like I said, I have a very special interview I want to get to you right now. Christina and I chatted 3 separate times to get this out, and we've come up with over 2.5 hours. I think it's over 2.5 hours of what I believe is an amazing story, very interesting. And here is part 1 just for you. I will attempt to do part 2 and 3 Tuesday and Wednesday. Then we're back to just boring old me. But by then, there ought to be plenty of stuff from you coming in about what was going on. So here she is. You're listening to Life with Doug Radio, presented by my site, DouglasCrabtree.com. This is weird and odd transition sounds. That means you're going from one segment to the next. I have a picture of you on Skype, and you look like this pretty girl, and now it looks like I'm looking at a man.
It is kind of like I can trade off between the two.
Do you have multiple personality issues?
It's not actually multiple personality at all. The thing is, I just have one of those faces that I can interchange. Like, sometimes I can get around certain people, and they'll say, "Well, excuse me, sir," and I'll be like, "What the fuck?" And then I'm just like, wait a minute.
Hey,
there's something going on.
Watch the F word here, all right?
Yeah.
So,
sorry about the language, but yeah.
Why? Are you attracted to women? Because you're not.
Yeah.
I know you're not. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, what? Are you attracted to women?
Yeah.
Are you sexually attracted to women?
Yeah.
More than guys?
Probably guys a little bit more, but
So-
that's like, it's like fading. I don't know.
So
I
what's
guess
the
I'm-
difference? What's the difference here between being openly bisexual and being transgender? Because you told me you were a transgender. I don't know what that means. I don't have the degree on that.
Transgender is where you're in the sex of what you were born with, but you identify with the opposite sex.
But that's
as
only.
in you.
But you only identify with the opposite sex sometimes, right?
Only sometimes. Other times I can switch it off, but like I said, there are times that it's just who I am. I tend to be the very dominant, almost masculine individual, and I have a hard time going between being really feminine because of the fact that I don't find myself in the feminine at all.
Okay.
I've had that trouble since I was in high school. Identifying with the feminine females because of the fact that it was just not me.
But you are
always
just you are just a smidge more attracted to guys, right?
Yeah.
So one time you made this statement, and I would love to get your comment, and then I want to go back to the beginning. But first, if you don't mind, reply to this statement. You told me in a text about a week or two ago that you have no destiny with a man. Explain to me what's going on with that.
Well, with this destiny thing is I feel that after what happened with me and Richard, I don't feel like my destiny is to be with the guy any longer because I don't have that push to, or that desire. And Richard had this desire that I be pregnant within our first 2 years of marriage. And now I'm just like, well, it's no longer there. The push is no longer there. The desire to have children is no longer there. So why am I wasting time trying to put back together an emotional baggage, which is him, and I keep running into the same personality in the male that I can't seem to get rid of them. Like, they keep coming and coming, and I don't want that personality.
You're talking about your personality is something you don't want to have?
No, it's when it comes to Richard's personality, a lot more of those show up and tend to try to overpower me. Like, they try to push their weight around.
You're saying Richard and people like him, right?
Right.
Well, you're a small girl, and you don't seem dominant or masculine to me. You never have. You've actually seemed very feminine and petite, and I mean, you did the thing with flowers, and I never would have guessed that you wanted to identify as a male. So, is it a big surprise that
a lot of people tend to think that I have a lot of trouble identifying as female, and statement has been made that there's no way I'm not going to say the word, but there's no way that I would ever be able to identify as female. Like, I am not feminine enough. I am not what culture calls female.
Well, why did you really stop and consider what other people thought? Like, because that seems to be a theme with you, that other people's thoughts are so important when you know the difference, right? You know they're not. You know it's all about you.
I don't try to say people's thoughts and things, but what they do say does tend to influence people just a little bit, but I usually don't let other people influence me, and I've actually gotten to the point in my life that if people are that prejudiced against me and that dead set on defining me as a label, then, I'm going to do what makes me happy. And what makes me happy is not identifying with that culture and, in a way, making fun of the male population like Richard that tend to think that the macho attitude is what wins you a girl in the end, and that's not what wins a girl. Too many guys act macho, and then it gets the guy, in a lot of trouble, actually. Because what happens is he comes over onto the girl's side, where all the feminine emotion nonsense going on, and as soon as he goes female, the female switches over to masculine. And I just don't want to identify with having to make that switch over to be like, get back over on your side of the fence, and I'll get back over on mine and stop, switching on me. And I can't stand switchers. So
I think I lost you, to be honest. All right, so take me back to the beginning. You were born where, young lady?
I was born in southern Ohio.
Right. I forgot that you're right here. You're right here at home.
Yes.
I completely forgot you were from Cincinnati. Can I say that? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
It's a big town. You won't be tracked down. Okay, so you were born. You're born and raised here, but you never grew up with your maternal parents, right?
Right.
And why is that? Tell me the story.
All right, I'll start from the beginning. My family is the Appalachian, very poor family. So that people can understand what the Appalachian culture is like. Appalachians are not your middle class. They're very low class.
Are you saying your parents are too poor to keep you, so they put you up for adoption?
No. But I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
I'm just putting background in so that you understand where this all is going to come in. But yeah, the family was extremely poor. Okay, Mom gets married, and she has the first 3 kids. These are before me and Scott and Trish ever came along. The first 3 get taken out of the home, and after her husband, because her husband turned into, he was an abuser. So the kids, from what I was told, were abused and were removed. He was in jail for 10 years for whatever he did to those kids and her.
When you say those kids, you're talking about your brothers and sisters before you, right?
Right.
Okay, so it was a violent home, and they were in the adoption system as well, right?
Yes.
What number are you? Are you like the 4th child then, or what?
And I'm the last.
Well, what number is that? 10?
6.
So you're the 6th one. Did any of your brothers and sisters, maternal brothers and sisters, ever live at home with your mom, with your maternal mother?
Well, when it came to after he got out of prison, she got pregnant with Trisha, and then Scott and Trisha came along, and they were the 2 older ones that I knew, and they only lived with my mom until the time of my birth and my molestation.
Until the time of your birth and molestation. You make it sound like they happened in the same day.
They probably happened pretty close together. From what I have been told, that
so you were sexually abused.
I was still little.
Who sexually abused you?
Her husband.
Which is not your father?
Not my father.
Okay. So you had to go and live with the parents you have now, or with someone else? Because you had a foster mother that died, right?
I went directly into the system of, the adoption system. And actually, I was one of the rescue children that, I did tell you about my foster parents, right?
I thought you had two foster families. Didn't one of your foster mothers pass away this year?
Yeah, my foster mother passed away this year of cancer.
Is that the first one?
That is the first and only foster home I was ever in, and they took me in as soon as I went into the system.
So did you live there your whole life until you turned 18?
No, I was only there until the point that the Fredericks actually met me the first time in their home. The Fredericks were friends with my foster parents.
And that's the people you live with now, or the Fredericks?
Yes.
So you met the Fredericks because they were friends of your foster family.
Yes.
And when did you move in with them?
They wanted to adopt me.
So you lived in 2 adoption homes?
No, I only lived in one.
And then you moved in with the Fredericks, right?
I moved in with the Fredericks. And I was still maybe a little shy of 1 year old.
I'm sorry, I was opening snacks here. I didn't hear you. You were what?
I was a little shy of 1 year old.
When what? When you were abused?
When I was adopted.
By the first family, right?
By the Fredericks. I was adopted. Foster home was not an adoption home. It was just, it was there as a nurturing home to help that baby, get back its health. With the problems that had arisen in the biological home, I was malnutritioned, and I was not like a normal baby. Normal babies cry when they're hungry. They cry when they get hurt in some way. I had no responses whatsoever. My crying did not come on. Like, if I was hungry, I'd sit there and smile at you and be like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Well, I wasn't really fine. I was hungry, but I didn't know how to tell because of the fact that the abuse had been so bad. So the Fredericks had a lot of work. They had to get my health back.
So wait a minute, I'm confused.
Where are you confused?
Who died this year? Someone named Fredericks?
No, my foster mother named Linda Cooper.
So, Miss Cooper, how long was you in the care of Miss Cooper?
It didn't seem like it was very long from what I was told.
So
like
that's
it might have been
that's
few
when
months.
you were a baby.
It could have been a few months because I was only shy of my year birthday when they adopted me. So I don't know.
The Fredericks, who you live with now, they've had you since you were like a toddler, right?
Right.
Okay, that now I understand. So
yeah,
while you were with the Fredericks, you were diagnosed with autism, right?
The autism only came on when I reached my teens. It doesn't rear its face when you're a child very easily.
Well, sometimes it does.
Oh, sometimes it does, and sometimes nobody noticed. I was born back in '86, and they did turn the knob one more click, and they would have found it. They would have found it when I was little. They might have been able to stop it from producing, when I got older and got real bad. But they didn't catch it at a young age. And so I was constantly going through a lot of things that were not normal for a child to go through.
Like what?
Like, like the constant, I was, a very bubbly child until I reached the age of 7. Then my body really started to take on social oddities. I couldn't be in groups and actually take in all the conversation that was going on. I would try to listen, but it was very hard. I'd leave the group because I just couldn't do it. Another thing was that...
Did you get really bad grades in school before you were diagnosed?
Before I was diagnosed, I was not one of those people that would socially copy parents. I couldn't.
Did you get bad grades in school before you were diagnosed?
I got some pretty bad grades because I couldn't concentrate.
Right.
Okay. So pretty much what just happened as a youngster was I didn't talk, I didn't interact, I was pretty quiet. I wouldn't even cry. So, that's another of those social hurdles that should have been going. But when I was 7 years old, and I remember this, my dad was shooting off fireworks in the backyard, and I was hiding.
Because it scared
and
you.
My cousin couldn't find me, and my mom couldn't find me. And I was literally curled up in a ball, hiding, plugging my ears.
Because you were scared, right?
Right.
Is that when you knew you were different?
Yeah, I knew when I was different. Because that was not usually kids won't, a normal kid will not find that sensitive. But my ears were so sensitive, I couldn't. I couldn't respond to it properly.
Right. So tell me.
So that was one time that I wasn't a normal kid. Another time that I thought I was a little odd was I am a bank of useless information, and I tend to take everything that I see, hear, and experience and just store it. I used to be able to store dates, names, of all information that I was being given, like in history class, while I aced my history class, because I was really good with dates. If I didn't think too hard, I could do math really well. But if I was thinking too hard, I was making it too complicated, I would lose my concentration, and not do well. So, yeah, my friends usually call me a bank of useless information because you can ask me something that somebody wouldn't know, and I know it. So because I'm just a very curious person.
Now, when did you started seeing doctors and get diagnosed?
I was around 17. I was diagnosed with the Asperger's syndrome. And
what was that like? Did you have to take tests and a bunch of bull crap, or what?
It was a lot of testing, mostly stuff that had to do with social norms. There were things like pattern stuff I did really well at, but when it got into like social idioms, usually the blank would come over my eyes. I'd be like, "What are you talking about? Like, what? This is like." My brain was too logical in its thinking to accept an idiom. Idioms are for people that don't think logically, but think abstractly. And I wasn't an abstract thinker. I was a very logical thinker, very organized. I tend to do a lot less talking and a lot more listening. And that's where I think the Asperger's syndrome, along with, the type of autism I have, which is Asperger's syndrome, just makes that very awkward in, social conversation, just to be able to understand everybody. I don't know what else I could say on that. It's kind of a...
So how did you feel during all that testing? Was it scary at all?
It was exhausting. It wasn't extremely scary. It was exhausting.
Were you mad? Did you ever get mad at that?
I would get slightly mad, but when I'm mad, I don't say anything. I just kind of cross my arms and look at the floor and just be like, I'm not going to respond to this because I know what's going to happen. Because most of us don't make appropriate reactions. A lot of us make inappropriate ones, like we start shouting, we start, doing things that are not appropriate. And I knew that since I was different and I had a bad sense of temperament, because if I got frustrated, I started, carrying on and, screaming and shit. Excuse me. And it would just escalate and escalate and escalate to the point I could not think reasonably. So most of the time I just shut my mouth, and usually you could tell by my eyes that I was mad. So.
Right. But you graduated high school pretty well, right? Got your diploma and everything?
Yes. Actually, I got 4th in my class on the SAT.
So, I mean, did people consider you dumb or smart, or how do you think people looked at you? Or did you ever care?
Most of the time, I really didn't care. I didn't get involved in a lot of the social nonsense that was going on in high school, and I'm sure you didn't either. The whole, well, you gotta act stupid to, be cool, and I was like, I'm not gonna be someone I'm not. So, I got picked on a lot, just for people call me teacher's pet, because I always turn my work in on time, and I tried to, I tried once in a while to be like them, and it didn't work, because it was just not who I was anyway. I tried to be popular for a year, and I'm like, I'm not acting like that either. So, I still do my own experiments. Like, if somebody wants me to be something, I experiment to see if it actually works or not with me. If it doesn't work, I don't adopt it.
If someone wants you to be what?
Like, if somebody wanted me to be popular and, the pretty girl in school, I was like, one year I did try that. I was like, I'm going to try that. I'm going to see if it's going to work with me. And I found out, nope, not going to work. I can't do it.
Well, how do you try to be popular?
Yes, I have tried to be popular.
How? How do you try to be popular? How does someone try to be popular?
Well, trying to be popular, you really have to pick the right guy. He has to be attractive. He has to be, the guy everyone talks about. You have to.
So what did you do? What did you do to be popular?
Well, since I was a dancer, ballet, I did ballet classes. I won my popularity by dancing. And when I did that, more people paid attention to me. And since there was a girl that did dance too that was popular, I kind of got into her clique.
Did you have a boyfriend in high school?
What?
Did you have a boyfriend at all in high school?
I had a boyfriend. I actually dated. He was handsome. He was a nice guy. Smart. The guy that you would find. Some of the popular guys see. And so we dated for a while, But with me, I am one of those people, if I don't like what's going on with me mentally, I will change. Like, really fast change. And when he noticed that I couldn't put on that I was popular, we broke up. And
He broke up with you, or what?
And he broke up with me.
Because you were changing and acting weird, right?
Right. And he said, I can't be around somebody who acts like a boy. And I turned into a tomboy.
Were you ever attracted to girls in high school?
I tried to refuse that, but the only thing is, it only got stronger. The more I fought it, I noticed where my eyes were going. And I was like, no, I'm going to fight this. I'm going to go out with God. I'm going to stop this nonsense. And because, I figured that. And I just decided, well, if I can at least try to force this, because my parents are, the older generation, I don't necessarily want to get, the older generation all wound up. And so I try to be I try to be someone that everyone semi-liked but semi-hated.
Let me ask you this.
So,
if in high school, what would your parents have done if you told them that you were attracted to girls?
I probably got lectured like I usually was. I was lectured for a lot of stuff, like, just the type of guys I went out with, I got lectured like constantly, I would, I'd go out with some guy that was a Boy Scout, or I'd go out with someone who wasn't, necessarily the popular cool guy, and it was just like, why does the guy have to be cool and popular to be my boyfriend, or the other way around? And why would a girl in that necessarily need to be popular? And, there are plenty of girls that are attractive that aren't popular. But in high school, my first exposure, and I think my first time I really started questioning my sexuality, was after the girl that had been the dancer who I had been in a clique with kissed me. And I kind of got mad.
All right, so where was you at when that happened? At school?
No, we were at the dance studio.
So you were at the dance studio and you were practicing, right?
Right.
Was anyone else in the room?
Her friend, and her friend teased me to death.
So, like, what was the conversation? How did practicing dancing lead to a kiss?
Well, we had just come out of practice, and we were in the changing room, getting back into our, street clothes and everything. And
Right.
It was just like, we were having a conversation, remember, stop, don't go the wrong direction, or don't do this, or don't do that. And she got too close and invaded my space and, kissed me, and then her friend started torturing me to death.
Wait a minute. Did she kiss you because she liked you or because she was making fun of you? And why did she kiss you? Was it to tease you?
I don't understand why she kissed me. To this day, I don't know why. Either she was trying to humiliate me, or she was attracted. I still cannot figure out what her body language was.
So it made you feel violated, right? You were mad?
Yeah.
Did you later on, did you like that in a way, or?
Later on, I did, and I punished myself for that, again, because of the fact that I was raised into a conservative family that didn't necessarily like, that kind of stuff.
Did you guys go to church and stuff your whole life?
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
So you felt kind of like trapped, right? Because you were questioning your sexuality, you may or may not be attracted to women, and you feel trapped and you don't know who to tell. right?
Right.
And you don't want to get in trouble. You don't want to upset your parents, right?
Yeah. Right.
So do you start pretending to be normal and try to be a girl? Is that what happened?
Yeah, I tried to pretend to be, a normal girl. And for a while, I could trick myself.
For a while, what?
For a while, I could trick myself and say, yeah, I'm a girl, and, I'm great. I do all these girly things. I'm sure that they'll still believe it. But my classmates didn't quite believe my little hoax.
So people could see it, huh? They thought you were kind of butchy? Or what?
Yeah, they were just like, you're not being yourself. You're just being what you think is appropriate. And so
were you like coming off kind of fake to them, you think?
I think I was coming off a little fake. But when I did become more of who I was really supposed to be, like actually my senior year, I think I finally dropped the whole female mantra crap. Excuse my language. The female thing. So I finally did drop it. Just dress, comfortably, because winters in Ohio are pretty uncomfortable. And I just finally said, okay, I'm just going to dress conservatively. I'm not going to do any jeans no more. I'm going to,
So
I'm going to wear jeans with fits.
You were getting tired of dressing up like a girl because you didn't feel pretty like a girl, right?
Right.
All right, so take me to this when you met Richard. Take me there.
All right. I was 21 years old in college. That was about the time that my disabilities really kicked in full throttle. Like, I was used to being babied all through high school because I was not put in what you would say normal classes. I was put in standard classes because I was not, the normal kid. I had disabilities. So I was in those classes. So there was no structure. There was a lot of goofing around because there were kids with ADHD, disabilities like me, physical disabilities,
right,
all kinds
so
of, things.
there was a lot of different people in college, right?
Yeah, it was a big, big switch from high school to college. It was such a big jump, and I was not ready and not mature enough to make the jump. Because it was like falling off of something, and there's a small drop, but it's not a gigantic drop. But I still fell and broke something. I didn't save myself at the bottom. I crashed, and when I crashed, Richard was the first person that my insecure self fell right into.
Where did you meet him?
I met him on MySpace, and I was talking to him on MySpace.
Did he message you first, or did you reach out to him? What happened?
Well, he is the one that found me on my MySpace account. I one day got on my MySpace account. I don't know what. Oh, I know why I was on it. I was skipping class, and because my depression had really kicked in at the time.
You said you were skipping class?
Pardon me?
Did you say you were skipping class that day?
Yes, I was skipping class that day because my depression hit real bad. Because I had been in mania the entire morning, and I dropped.
You were in what?
I was manic depressive.
So that was a very bad day.
I was manic early on, and I finally dropped out of it and hit my depression real hard. And so when I was in depression, I couldn't go to my classes very easily.
Right, so
I
you got
couldn't-
got on MySpace that day, and what did his message say to you, if you can remember?
His message was, well, I've never come across somebody with the self-care attitude about their disability, and yet they'll tell you straight up what's wrong with them. And I'm kind of intrigued by you, and the whole entire conversation started.
So
And it went on. It went on my entire class period, and I really never went to class.
So you did you start to like him? I mean, you realized he was much older than you, right? How old was he at that time?
He was 65 at the time, but he passed himself off as 42.
He told you he was 42?
He told me he was 42 years old.
So you thought he was 42, and you were what, 21?
21, yeah.
So that didn't bother you at all that he was supposedly 42 and whatever?
At 21, no. It didn't bother me. Now at 27, it does.
So at 21, I mean, did you start to like think about, well, maybe this guy can take care of me, or maybe this guy, did you have like a sugar daddy thing going on, or what happened?
I was thinking, well, this guy can take care of me, and he seems like he's not going to be like my parents. Yeah, Mom, I will. And he decided that he needed to get me away from my parents. He thought my parents were damaging me, and because the thing was, the school became my parents.
When did you find out his real age?
I found out his real age 3 weeks, or was it 4? It was about 3 or 4 weeks before we decided that it was time for me to leave my parents' home.
Tell me about those conversations. Was he like trying to convince you to run away with him, basically?
Pretty much, yes.
Where did he live? Where did you guys live together?
We lived in Pine Knot, Kentucky, which is in southern Kentucky, right on the border with Tennessee.
So he was like, okay, your parents are damaging you, and then what? He was going to come get you in the middle of the night, or what?
He actually said he was going to come get me from the college itself.
What about school?
And
he didn't care about your school?
he didn't care about my school. I was to the point I didn't even care either.
You were having a really rough time, and you thought this guy could like really help your life be better. Like he would take care of you and help your disabilities as well, right?
Right.
So was you, and I asked you this before, but I'll ask you again, was you physically attracted to him?
Physically attracted? No.
But you gave him physical attention, right?
I gave him physical attention, but only on his prodding.
Only what?
Only when he prodded for it. I didn't touch him otherwise.
All right, so did you like pack your stuff up and you left your dorm room and then got in his vehicle?
Actually, I was at school and I lived at home at the time, so there was no like dorm room or anything. I was living at home, going to school. I pretty much just dropped everything. You know, I unenrolled myself in school. I did a lot of stuff that I kind of regret now, but at the time I could understand why I did it.
All right,
but
so
I couldn't
tell
anyone I was hurting. I couldn't tell anyone I was hurting because no one listened to me.
But Richard
So
would,
this
right?
What?
Richard listened, right?
Right, he listened.
Was he aggressive with you, like sexually in the very beginning before you ever met? Was he like coming on to you or anything like that?
No, he didn't come on to me. I was walking around and
You all right?
Yeah, it was my parents. And the dog. Yeah.
What was I going to ask you? So, did you walk out of your home and then meet him somewhere?
No, my mom took me to school, and I waited until she was gone before I walked out and walked up to his car and, just got in his car.
Wait a minute. So, was that the first time you had ever seen him in person?
Yes.
Okay, so I got to ask you a couple things. Did you think that you would never see your mom again that day?
No, I didn't think I'd ever see my mom again.
You thought you would or would never see her again?
I thought I would after she calmed down.
But you knew she would be really upset for a while.
Yeah.
Which she was,
right? Actually, the phone messages were so hurtful. I just had nothing to do with her. She actually shot herself in the foot.
Before we get to that, and I want to get to that. What was your first thought about Richard in person when you first seen him? Were you excited? Were you relieved to be starting a new life? Was you scared? What was going through your mind? What was said?
I was like, well, I'm actually going to get away from drama. And so, I'm one of those that, I guess, in a way, I now think I took the coward's way out. I walked out on something when I should have stood my ground.
You walked out on what? School and your family?
Yeah. I think at the time I took the coward's way out because I couldn't communicate with them. I felt like I wasn't part of their family. Like it was.
So you probably felt like you were already a lot closer to Richard than you were with anybody, right? Is that true?
Yes.
So then what? He took you down to Kentucky? That was it?
Yes.
What did you have with you? Because your mom had no idea that you were about to do that, right?
Right.
So what did you have with you on your? You didn't have clothes or nothing, right?
No, I didn't have any of that. Actually, the people down there are so nice. When I first came down there, and we were married and everything, people actually were leaving bags of clothes at our door for me.
From what? From his church or what?
No, just from the community itself. The community.
Well, how did they know what was going on?
Because I was new to the community, and they noticed, because a lot of people around there spy on you, that I didn't come with any bag of clothes.
So it was a very small town then?
Yes, very small town.
All right, so when did he tell you he was actually 60 whatever?
He told me, I think it was a week, very short amount of time before we actually met. Of course, already not having a problem with the 42, I was just like, accepted it, I just went like, well, what's the harm me, 42 or 65.
But didn't you feel betrayed or angry or what?
No, I didn't feel anything. I was just like,
So you still...
It's no big deal.
So you were just, you were not attracted to him physically at all?
No attraction physically.
Did you have any trouble sleeping the last night at the Fredericks, knowing that it'd be your last night there? Was you excited that day?
No. Nope, I had no problem with my sleep at all.
You were just like ready to go.
Ready to go.
All right, so how long from the time you you moved into his home right away and, right?
Right.
Was he, how was he? How was it to live with him?
first, it was, we were fine. We got along.
Was you like snuggling on him the first day, or were you romantic,
I'm
sexual, anything?
I am not a clingy person, and I do not, I don't cling to people. So I was like, once in a while I get a hug from him, or or somebody, like we were trying to move from the trailer that he was living in before me to the house, because he wanted me to have a proper home. He didn't want me to be living in a trailer. So he was moving us over to his home.
Did you guys sleep in different rooms? Did you guys share a bed?
We shared a bed, yes.
But you didn't do nothing with him?
Didn't do nothing.
Why did you share a bed? If it was not romantic, if it was not sexual, what was the conversation that led to we need to sleep in the same bed? Why that?
Because of the fact that we were married. And
well, I didn't. How quickly did you get married? Why did he want to get married if your relationship was not romantic or not sexual?
Because of the benefits that marriage brings.
What are the benefits that marriage brings?
Well, able to the bills would be together. Two people that are married, we get, you get taxes get cut.
Did you want to marry him? Or did or was it like his idea and you kind of went along with it, or what?
He talked me into it. He said the only way you're going to come live here with me is we have to be married.
Did you tell him no at first?
I didn't know what to say to him actually at first. I just kind of was like, I'll think about it. But as he kept on, and I think at 21, I wasn't socially asked to take that kind of keeping on, you're going to do this, and you're going to do this, and you're going to behave like this, you're going to have to do this. Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm also talking to my friends.
Are you busy? Is this okay?
Yeah, everything's fine. I'm just getting all my laundry together.
Do you need to take a break?
All right, I know. Actually, I was going to be doing my laundry stuff because I got to run the sleeper very soon. So.
You got to do what?
My mom has my evening chores. I got to run the sleeper soon.
Do you need to take a break? You want to do this? You want to finish this later?
Yeah, I can do that.
Because I got 50 minutes with you. It's been gold. But this is getting juicy now, so I want to know the end of the story. I have a lot of more questions. I'm very interested in your life, if you haven't noticed.
All right.
And I appreciate your honesty and being open with me and allowing me to put you on. So we'll talk soon, okay?
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Miss Christina, keeping it real. Very interesting person. A person of interest, I would say. History of abuse, you name it. When I first met her, I was just fascinated that she, got married to this guy, and that was like 4 times older than her, and I just didn't know what. I was like, wow, you got to be kidding me. And then she told me, and now the story's even juicier because she's now identifying as a transgender. So I'm really eager to ask her, what about your folks, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, we'll probably go ahead and put the next interview right on this file. If not, you'll have it on a different one. Stay tuned. And we'll be back with Christina soon enough. Thanks for listening to Live with Doug Radio. Jump on to DouglasCrabtree.com. Get a hold of me and tell me your story. My number's right there on the page. Click on the About Me bio page, whatever, and we'll get to know each other.